On the heels of a wild, chaotic and unpredictable TNA invasion Tuesday night, NXT returned to Peacock for its latest PLE, No Mercy. All of the black and silver brands championships were on the line, and some of the hottest, most intensely personal rivalries came to a head in high-stakes matches. So yeah, a big show. And we started things off with Javon Evans versus Josh Briggs. Just 24 hours after a SmackDown match, Evans sought redemption. Briggs took advantage of an exhausted Evans, wearing him down with his power and strength advantage. The MAG fought back, firing for a series of rights and lefts before dropping him with DDT. Moments later, he launched himself off the top rope and onto Briggs on the floor, then followed up with a frog splash, which may or may not have resulted in the free. From there, the combatants spent the rest of the match throwing everything they had at each other. Briggs attempted a super choke slam from the top ropes, but Evans countered and landed on his feet. When the heel finally did deliver the moves, Evans kicked out at 2. Briggs delivered a trademark lariat, but everything he attempted was for naught, and the resilience and persistence of his opponent won out. Evans ultimately delivered a springboard cutter, then added another from the top rope for a very good win. 7 out of 10 from me. As we then moved on to the Speed Championship match between Sol Rucker and Parker. Laney Reid wasn't able to compete as Shawn Michaels announced. Parker stepped up and found himself countering and cutting Rucker off early and often. With less than 1 minute remaining, Parker delivered a hit tonic but allowed herself to get distracted by Zara at ringside, then by Legend. She ducked a spear from the Aussie that ate a Snow Snatcher as she went to the circle, allowing Rucker to retain. Gets a 5 out of 10. The last minute change wasn't great, and just not really getting into this speed stuff, not gonna lie. As we then got a weaponised steel cage match between Grace and Monroe, a rivalry months in the making. Led to this match. The Juggernaut attempted to utilise a steel chair but damaged her hand and slowed her down. Monroe introduced a kendo stick and unloaded on Grace, who fired up and gave her a taste of her own medicine, followed by a spine buster on the aforementioned chair. A blind charge into the chair sandwiched in the corner halted Grace's momentum and allowed Blake to seize control of the contest. The Glamour switched her opponent, injured her hand on the cage and actively targeted it. The heels tracked Grace in the ropes with a hairdryer, then proceeded to cut her hair, adding insult to injury. Driven by rage, the former Knockouts champion punished her opponent with a barrage of clotheslines, then tripped her up on the ropes and delivered a Samoan drop to the mat below. She laid into her with a weightlifting belt, but Monroe recovered and sent Grace face first into a trash can. She dropped the babyface into the cage, then followed up with a running knee. Looking to continue the pain and suffering of her opponent, Monroe unloaded with a bag of diamonds on the mat, only to suffer a fisherman buster on them. Grace shoved her hair Monroe had cut earlier into the heel's mouth, then set her up on the top rope. The Glamour ducked out of harm's way, hung Grace in a tree of woe and delivered a trash can. A double stomp followed. Moments later, with a table set down, they scaled the cage. Monroe held a handful of powder in Grace's eyes, but the Juggernaut delivered an airway crash that drove the heel through the table and earned her the victory. A wild match, and a big win for Jordan Grace. It felt like a much needed win for her. This was really good stuff, and gets 7 out of 10 from me. Page and Tavian Heights then fought out for the North American Championship. Heights entered the match with 2 consecutive victories over Page, looking to make it a clean sweep. The North American champ weathered an early storm, delivering a back body drop to Heights that allowed him to capture control of the match. The Olympian fought through the pain and mounted a comeback that saw him catch all ego. Similar ankle lock to Kurt. Page fought out and applied a Boston Crab, further damaging the lower back. Heights recovered and applied a sleeper on the top rope, but Page fought out and delivered power slams to the mat below and transitioned seamlessly into a twist of fate to score the win. And after match, El Hijo appeared on the video screen with his eyes on Page's championship. A good match, and definitely an intriguing view going forward. 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Lola Vice versus JC Jane for the women's title. Jane spent months proving her doubters wrong, and she faced one of her toughest challenges to date. The champ toyed with Vice early, attempting to embarrass her in front of her family, friends and hometown fans. When Vice fired up, and alert Jane delivered a senton that sandwiched Vice between her and the steel steps. When the challenger favoured her back, Jane targeted it, delivering a backstabber for a 2 count. Vice fought back through the pain, fired up and unloaded her trademark strikes. She added a running hip attack into the corner and wiped Henley out at ringside before Jane rocked her a punt kick. Back inside, Vice responded with a kick of her own, only for Henley to break up the pin by pulling the official to the floor. When Henley ejected from ringside, Vice trapped the champ in a rear naked choke, but the heel countered out. Frustrated, Jane headed outside and grabbed the women's title, attempting to use it to her advantage. The ref prevented it, and after a flurry of roll-ups and reversals, the challenger obliterated the champ with a back fist. She fell to the floor, however, and a woman clad in black rocked her with a kick. Vice narrowly beat the count, but Jane flattened her to retain the gold. A good match here. I think sold Vice really well as a good challenger, and Jane obviously getting a win to continue her reign. So on the whole, this was good stuff. 6 out of 10. It was their main event time as Ricky Saints took on Obafemi. And yeah, the challenger brawled plenty early, but an ill-advised attempt at a tope suicida was met with a hard forerun by the champ, who proceeded to overwhelm Saints with his hard-hitting and raw power. The babyface fought his way back into the match, avoided the fall of grace, but ate a big uppercut. Moments later, he made a up for delivering a spear for 2. Saints delivered a powerbomb for his own near fall, but moments later had his momentum used against him as Femi tossed him across the square circle. The aggressor attempted his trademark powerbomb, but Saints countered a roll up for another count of 2. A powerbomb attempted by Femi on the announce table was countered when Saints delivered a DDT. On the floor, Saints was delivered a tornado DDT, but the champ answered with a wicked chop to the chest and drove out of the air from him. The fall from grace followed only for the fan favourite to kick out to the shock of awe of the champ. Saints recovered, added the 3rd and 4th DDT of the match and won the title to the delight of the fans. Yeah, this gets a 7 out of 10 for me. This was really good stuff. So pleased for Saints to win the title, and it feels like Femi, it's probably the right time for him to go out to the main roster, which I'm guessing is going to happen here. But yeah, for Saints, on the back of a great match, a genuinely shocking title change as well. Great stuff, 7 out of 10. Overall, NXT No Mercy gets a 6 out of 10 for me. It's a perfectly acceptable show with some great in-ring action. It was kind of overshadowed by the Invasion announcement, but Saints winning the title was the major must-see event happening. With nothing truly exceptional, the show kind of just felt like it happened. But yeah, really pleased for Ricky Saints, and to be honest, I'm very excited for his reign. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.